Hello everyone, how are you today? Thank you for joining me here on the channel. This is Toby. I appreciate so much your time, your energy, and your support. So this reading is for the collective. This will be a timeless reading in that whenever you come across it is when you're meant to see it. I am starting out with the Elemental Oracle, and we're going to do a little bit of a different spread, but I'll walk you through that as we go along. So let's get started as our cards are already coming out. We have number 42, Movement and Speed, and we have number 29, Creation and Water. So the overall energy as we're looking at this message is one of being in touch with your intuition and with your emotions as you are creating this forward movement, staying in touch with this. Although she's in the water, she's very centered. I'm getting a very grounded energy from the figure on the water card. I'm also getting sensing a great wisdom from her and from this figure, and I'm seeing this blue light. Sorry, it's got me a little distracted. I don't know if you guys can see that, some sort of reflection, but a wisdom and then connection to spirit, and as well as protection in that. Although she's chest deep in the water, it doesn't feel like it's overtaking her. She's found this balance between immersion in her emotions and connectedness with spirit and her intuition and her higher self, which allows her to be in this state of flow, allows her to be in this state of balanced creation and true to really what she wants to create, and not creating from a space of over emotionality or over I'm getting the word thought line. So not being in so hyper focused a thought pattern that she's not seeing the full picture. She has her eyes closed because she doesn't have to. She is going within to know the truth of what she is wanting to create in this speed, in this forward momentum, in this movement. But being centered here before going into this movement is so critical, because if we're not in this space of centered balancedness with our mind, with connection to our intuition, to spirit, to our higher self, as well as our emotional state being in balance, look at how easily we could then either cause waves and ripples out that are unintentional and that move and overtake things that we did not want, did not desire, did not intentionally put forth, as well as drown. The waves can then overtake us, and then we feel overwhelmed by this movement. So it allows us, because there's so much air in this speed and movement card. See how high off the ground the figure is? They're floating above everything else. And that's so important to be able to do that, to be able to get outside of the everyday. But we also have to be grounded. So being in this state of balance and equanimity, equilibrium, is so important before we step into this movement and this speed, because then the speed can get away from us. The goal is to move in consistent patterns. Certainly there will be some stops and starts, and certainly there will be pauses, and there will be slowdowns, but overall the consistency then, there we go, the consistency is then in our balance. It's not necessarily in the speed with which we're actually moving, but the consistency lies within our intention and our balance. Okay, so this is our overall energy. Let's see if we have room here. I hope I've left room. Let's move this back just a touch. I have to keep our moons in there. All right, so now we're using the Dreams of Gaia Tarot. And the symbolism, not symbolism, but the imagery, I love the imagery on this deck, and the interpretation by the author is a little bit different in some instances than the traditional tarot. In addition, there are also additional cards over and above what you would find in a traditional tarot deck. So I hope y'all enjoy the imagery as much as I do. So let's see. First, we're going to ask for messages for guidance for the light. Guidance for the light aspects. And then we'll pull guidance for shadow aspects. Then we will look for messages from the potential pressure points for this message or this time frame whenever it finds you, and then we'll go from there. We may actually do some key players as well, which are basically any external influences or people that will impact or potentially influence this this time period. Okay, so let's guidance for the light, please, Spirit. Okay. We have the Two of Water. This actually goes back to the messages I was receiving in meditation earlier about, so I had a feeling this would come out. There's our blue light again. Not sure what that is, guys, but reflecting from something here in my room. Very interesting. Okay, so sorry, I'm still playing. Sorry about that. I'm getting a little distracted. Okay, squirrel. So Two of Cups. I'm sorry. This is a Two of Water in this card, but as you see, it is similar to the Two of Cups in the traditional tarot. If you're familiar with traditional tarot, because it does have two figures and symbolic of a love embrace. And so the overall message of this card is one of connection, communication, forgiveness, reconciliation, potentially. So the message I received this morning was about forgiveness, and it was about, I'll do this so you can see these two. It was about in healing from a relationship that has ended, and whether that's an interpersonal relationship of any type, whether it's a business relationship, a partnership, a friendship, family members, or a romantic partnership or connection. When in all of our lives, from time to time, those relationships come to an end for whatever reason. But in the ending of that relationship, oftentimes, in order to be able to detach from it, in order to be able to grieve and move through the healing process at the loss of this relationship, we oftentimes find ourselves focusing on the negative aspects of the relationship or of the person that we were involved with, in whatever capacity that took. And it is part of the process. Oftentimes it It's part of understanding or attempting to understand, or sometimes finding validation or confirmation for why the relationship ended. So there is value in that, but we also at some point need to then move away from that and move into a balanced perspective of the individual in question, the relationship in question, because certainly the goal is to be able to fully release, let go, to learn from the relationship, and to forgive, right? To be able to forgive the other person, to be able to forgive yourself, most of all, just to have forgiveness for what occurred, gratitude for whatever learning came from it. But if we're stuck in focusing on the negatives around said relationship, finding forgiveness can be extremely hard, especially for ourselves, because we may begin to go into a headspace and a thought line, there's that phrase again, of how could I have been in this relationship? How could I have allowed that to occur? How could I have missed these things? And keep going with that. We certainly have all been there. The problem with that is that we're only focused on the negative aspects of that relationship. But the negative aspects were not what brought us into that relationship to begin with, right? If all we saw were the negative aspects of person, or the partnership, or again, whatever the case may be, we wouldn't have even probably entered into this relationship. We would not have then allowed our focus and our energy to be on that relationship. So let's take a step back from that, enter into this balanced state, and allow then for us to see the totality of the experience of the relationship for what it was, and be accepting of that. Take the lessons from it. Have gratitude for the gifts of it, for the positive of it, and for the negative of it, because that's what then brings us to the wisdom, correct? And it also allows us to then forgive the person and forgive ourselves too, because if we're talking about a romantic relationship where maybe there were red flags or unhealthy behaviors or attachments, codependency, whatever, certainly it didn't just start out that way. Maybe it did. And even if there were from the beginning, you have awareness. Now you have recognition of what those things are. Not to say that you won't encounter them in the future, and maybe you will not trust your intuition, or maybe you won't see them or you won't recognize them right from the start. But certainly it's part of the process of learning. So giving yourself forgiveness, giving the other person forgiveness for those things, in addition to gratitude for the gifts of the relationship. What did you come out of it with? What did you, after the healing is done? Certainly there's always a lot of pain in the loss. There's always a lot of pain. There's a lot of grief. And that needs to be given time and space. But we get to a certain point in the healing where we're either going to choose to stay in that unbalanced view and perception, or we're going to choose to step back a little bit, to allow ourselves to detach and to move to a space of seeing it in totality for what it was, altering our thought lines, not finding balance between the emotion and the thought patterns, not allowing the emotion of it to create the thought lines, because the emotions are temporary. They're always changing and fluctuating, dependent upon so many things. So if we're creating thought lines and stories based on just the emotions, that's not the reality of it. And certainly the emotions play a part of the reality, but there is more to it than that. So allowing yourself the forgiveness and the space and the time, and I am in no way suggesting that we need to rush this process of getting to a point of forgiveness. No. Just no, because then you'll find yourself revisiting it. So give yourself the space and time you need. But if you find that you're wanting to release this loss and move forward, then really taking the time to reflect upon, how am I viewing this? Am I stuck in this negative perspective about this relationship? What happened? What things about the other person? Am I then criticizing myself for not seeing those things or for allowing it to go on, or whatever the case may be? Moving outside of that, finding forgiveness for yourself, allowing yourself to then see, certainly there were things that were attractive about that partnership, that were beneficial, that offered something to you that was satisfying. So allowing ourselves to find that balance. There's balance in the two. The balance of the shadow and the light in the relationship. And then in that, finding compassion for ourselves, forgiveness for ourselves, for the other person. And the reconciliation is not necessarily with the other person, so to speak, or that partnership in whatever form it takes, in that you then enter back into it. It's reconciling with what is and what was, and then giving yourself the space then to let it go with gratitude and forgiveness and peace. Okay, so let's see what we have for the guidance for the shadow aspect. Kind of covers both, but let's see. Oh, there is something else. That goes back to balance. We have the Six of Earth here. So being grounded in that balance. So in the shadow aspect of this, not of this card, but of this situation, when you find yourself, I kind of already went over it in talking about the forgiveness, but when you find yourself in the parts of the healing process where you are focused on the shadow aspects of that relationship, really grounding yourself. I'm noticing he's chained to these trees. However, he has the key, the lock for the chains. See how he's chained here? But notice how it comes around back up to his neck. The lock is there and the key is there. So you hold the key in yourself, in your own gifts, in your own, the abundance even that may have come from this situation, to release yourself from this and move into this forgiveness. And in that, you're, again, whatever form these relationships may take, this process is going to allow you to come to this state of balance. We just had the Scorpio full moon eclipse, huge for transformation and releasing and dealing with our shadow, really looking into the shadow of ourselves, of relationships, of our motivations, I'm hearing. So really working through this, is going to allow, let's fix that, sorry about that. It's going to allow for us to find this balance between our thoughts, our emotions, connecting in with our intuition, our higher self, with spirit. It helps create this peace that's represented here with the doves. And that gives us the space and creates the intention with which we want to then move forward into this transformation that was opened up, in particular with the Scorpio full moon. Okay, so we're going to kind of know what the pressure points are, huh? But let's ask for some messages for any potential pressure points. Some of you may certainly already be feeling all of this now, or have been, with this eclipse portal. I mean, we're overall in a great time of transformation as a collective in so many ways. We have the Five of Earth. Yeah, this is... Okay, here's the image of here's the cards. You guys can take a look at it. It feels like this almost devilish type of energy where and I'm getting this sense of secrecy, or some, it's something being held back. Okay, see how this figure is ghostly, she's pale, she's fading, right? She's fading. And he's offering these cards, but he has the jewel, where is it? Hidden over here just underneath his cloak. So, two things. Where are you withholding the abundance and jewels of your life, the treasure of your life, from yourself? Or where are you holding yourself back from accessing those? And I think that's absolutely what we're talking about here. How holding on to losses and grief and attachment to that, whatever form it takes, again, whatever that relationship may be, whether it is romantic or family or friends or a business partnership or relationship that you have with something in your life, a relationship that you have with a belief or a pattern, like the way you do things in your daily life even. Where are you holding back? Where are you limiting yourself and only giving? What are you feeding, basically? In addition, where are you limiting from offering the best of yourself to other people because you have not released this? I feel like I need to say that again because that feels really important. Where are you holding back the best of yourself? Where are you not allowing the best of yourself to be seen? Because this almost feels like a devil or shadow energy within ourselves if this is the representation of the collective. So where are we listening to, and this is that pressure point, right? Where are we listening to the shadow and the fears and the anxieties so much that we are only offering or showing to the world I want to say the bare minimum, but it doesn't, that feels like an exaggeration, but not showing ourselves fully, our gifts fully, our treasures fully to other people because we have not allowed for this process. We have not balanced out so we can move forward clearly and unburdened. All right. So let's see if there are any key players in this. Thank you, Spirit, for these messages for the collective. We have the Four of Water. I feel like there's more, so give me just a moment, please. Key players, please. And the Queen of Air. I'm getting a strong Athena, goddess Athena energy from this Queen of Air. See the owl? I love these cards. Aren't they beautiful? The art, the illustrations are just gorgeous. But I'm getting a strong Athena energy in this. So key players may be ourself in taking on a more warrior type aspect in this process. It may also be another person that embodies this, sorry guys, a person that embodies this energy, someone who is coming towards you with a lot of logic and almost I'm sorry, all of a sudden I can't talk. Okay, so this is the energy from it. The energy is someone who comes towards you in a very logical, forthright, almost harsh way, to the point where you feel like you're not able to express this feeling of loss. And I'm, this card doesn't feel representative of loss, but that's what... Oh, hang on just a second. I'm trying to... Okay, so it's not necessarily loss, but so it's so that you're not able to express yourself fully, or you don't feel like you're being heard, as if your expression of your emotions in interactions with this person are you just don't feel like you're being heard. It's almost like they're in such a logical headspace that any emotionality doesn't want to be discussed. So it's it feels trivialized. But what's going on here is it's actually a mirroring energy, because you are mirroring back to this person. Okay, let me get this clear. You may be expressing emotions that are then shining a light on emotions that this Queen of Swords individual, Queen of Air individual, also shares. So in effect, you are mirroring, not intentionally, but because you are wanting so much to speak to how you are feeling in this moment, in this conversation with them. It's making them very uncomfortable because they're not uncomfortable in sharing those same emotions with you or another person. So it feels like it feels like a clash here. This feels representative of a dealing with a single person. It might be linked to this. I'm kind of feeling that, but not fully. So it just may be generalized interactions that the awareness that key players during this time frame, whenever you happen to come across this reading, may be in this Queen of Air energy, this very almost warrior-like. It feels a little confrontational, not to the point of being warlike or overly aggressive, but she's very forward. It's a very forward energy. I'm definitely getting this energy of Athena. And the energy of Athena is very positive in my interpretation and in my experience. However, in this instance, it comes across as feeling harsh because it feels as if they are trivializing the emotions that you are expressing, the things that you are wanting to communicate to them. It feels like a trying to clear the air. However, what happens is it becomes a bit of a clash because you're expressing emotions that they are not able to express, and it makes them uncomfortable to talk about them, whether they're your emotions or not. It's very uncomfortable for this person to discuss. So be aware of that in any interactions. If you get that sense that the person is downplaying or is diminishing what you're expressing, know that that may be coming from a place of your light in doing so and being true to yourself is highlighting something in them that they are not ready to see looking in the mirror. Okay, I hope that was clear. These are the messages for you guys. I hope you found this helpful. I hope this was meaningful for you. Please feel free. I would love to hear your comments. I'm interested to hear what you think of these cards, to hear what you think of this type of spread, and any other thoughts or feelings on the reading. As always, please do like, share, subscribe, please, if you feel called to do so. And again, I very much appreciate your time, your energy, and your support. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.